very different. In other words, that you have to also understand that inside of you, there are things inside of you that are eating up your being. Like what? Like misunderstandings of God. Like anger and rage that you haven't dealt with. Like illusions of thought. Like belief systems that you've taken on that don't work. Like you may believe in something, but it may just be wrong. You may believe it with all your heart and soul that something is true, but at the end of the day it's not. So if you believe in an illusion and you store that illusion in your body, you're going to get sick. If you believe in an illusion and you store it in your heart, you're going to get a type of, your heart will turn away from God. If you get an illusion and you store it in your soul will turn away from God. Okay? So remember, in the leg of Sufism, which I really have an issue with, in the sense of, if you are in a Sufi order and you're chanting away and you're doing dhikr every night, you're reading some of the holy books by Abdul Qadir Jilani or one of the great masters, and you're not taking the time to purify out the illusions in yourself, you're crippling yourself. You are not going to go very far in your spirituality. Okay? So if you want, and I don't care, even one of my very good friends now, today, is the head of the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi movement. He was one of the inheritors of that movement. After Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the TM guy, died. We've become good friends, and we've spent a lot of time in dialogue with each other, talking about their path and our path. His is a Vedantic path. And you know what? It's the same. There are issues of purification that are so necessary, and when the people do them, they move forward, and when they don't, they get stuck. So what I'm trying to say is, it doesn't really matter what your path is. If you're not purifying out the turbidities, the illusions, the images, the emotions, the subconscious stuff, the fears, the conflicts, the past lineage of your family and the ideologies that you're carrying, your anchors are down and your boat is not going to take off. You are not going to move forward. You're going to get caught. So for me, what I do is I try to work on unfolding the images that are connected to whatever disease I'm working with. So if I'm working with humanitis, meaning Sufi walking, then I try to, you say, I'm stuck, Ibrahim. I try to find why you're stuck. I look for the images and try to understand why you're attached to those images and try to purify them. And it works really well. Okay, if you are higher and you're walking, you're in your soul, if you're in the third station or fourth station, the same thing goes on. In other words, if you say to me, Ibrahim, I'm stuck, why can't I reach the Malarifa? Why haven't I opened up divine understanding? We look inside and say, okay, what are the divine impressions in your soul that are limiting you from reaching the Malarifa, which is divine understanding? And the minute you ask that question, these images show up. And when you see these images with God's help, and you purify them, the Malarifa comes in. If Allah so wills. Okay, and so that's how you apply the purification work to the process of Sufism and to the process of healing. Because sometimes, what I have found for myself, because I've been sick so many times already, I don't like to talk about it, but I've been blind, I've almost died of heart disease, I've had kidney stones, I've had blindness, it goes on and on. I can give you a whole litany of things I've been sick with in my life. But each one I had to heal. And each one was difficult in its own way. But at the end of the day, behind every one of them, God was trying to teach me. The minute I got my teaching, my illness disappeared. But I had to get the teaching. So the point is that God may send you illness when nothing else works. You're stubborn like I was. You know, you might end up with illness, and this is not a bad thing. It just means that Allah is going to try to teach you about yourself. You see, the concept in Sufism is we're trying to become what we call warith. Okay, warith means that you essentially carry the 99 names of God, or you're like a template of divinity. Okay, now in our system, the one that we use who carries this the best is Prophet Muhammad. So we use Muhammad as a divine template because he's the most advanced in his manifestation of warith. But you could also turn to Sidi. Sidi was warith also, but Sidi's light is not as developed as Prophet Muhammad's light. And Sidi is a full warith, and a very beautiful one. But he's not Prophet Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad's light is further. So in our system, we try to give you the templates of what it means to be warith by choosing to look at the templates of the most fully developed human beings that we can find, which in this case are Prophet Muhammad. Some of you don't love Prophet Muhammad, so maybe you turn to Jesus. Some of you turn to Muhammad, to Moses, Musa, Isa. Some of you, for me, I have a lot of experience with Abraham. Abraham has shown up for me many times for whatever reason. So Abraham has been one of the masters that I have personally worked with a lot on the levels because of his spirit just showing up. Some people turn to Abdul Qadir Jilani or Ibn Arabi or Bashish or any of the other ones, Shabli, because they carry very powerful templates of the warith level. So our work as Sufis is to become these templates. But you see, our ego will easily jump in. Our ego will easily jump in, and this happens for all human beings. You start to move in the right direction, but then your ego grabs it. And your ego wants the power, or wants the light, or wants the glory, or wants whatever it wants. And in that moment, the ego steps in and the ego grabs the light and says, it belongs to me. This is called Lordship. And this is very common in the Sufi walking, is the manifestation of Lordship. And it particularly happens in the third station. Because in the third station, what happens is Allah begins to give you authority. It's the station of authority. If you reach the third station, you will start to get authority. Meaning Allah will give you authority over others. Allah will give you authority to run a center. Allah will give you authority to run a movement. There are many teachers in some of the movements, I won't say which ones, out of courtesy around the world, but there are many teachers who are running movements around this world that are third station teachers. Because that's when the authority comes in. But the authority of the third station is not realization, it's before it. So there's still, the problems of the third station are Lordship. It's the station of Lordship. It's the station of claiming what God gives you, your ego grabs it. So Sidi says that the third station is the most difficult station of all, because inside of you, your ego is grabbing onto the authority Allah gave you, and you're taking it, and you lose the respect, you lose the politeness, you lose the honoring, and your ego grabs it, and as your ego grabs it more and more, you fall down. And that's the danger of the third station, is this station. Now, this is why the third station is a very tricky station. We have to be very vigilant. And very vigilant as you walk through the station. In our Tariqa now, we have many people who are starting to reach this third station. There are a lot of people, since Sidi died, who entered into the station. And yet at the same time, there's a very deep state of vigilance that's needed. And as you enter into the station, remember always to be polite. Remember to always be at people's feet. Remember always that your job is to serve people, to care about people, to be polite with people, to listen to people, and to really honor what's there. And you're going to have to watch those places in yourself, because those places are going to come out. It doesn't mean that you don't have authority. Have the authority, but have the authority with adab. Have the authority with politeness. This is going to be this is the challenge that many people have to walk through. Okay, now, if we go back to final step, which I showed you yesterday, which is that the walking of the third station is your capacity to gain Ma'arifa. Okay, so the walking of the Jabba level is the high walk. There's 2 jewels of the Jabba that you're going to reach, possibly. The highest one of the Jabba is Fana. All right, and this is the real goal of the Jabba is for you to reach Fana. Fana means the annihilation of attachment of your soul's consciousness to itself. Okay, Fana means the annihilation of the attachment of your soul's consciousness to its own essence. So what it really means is you're annihilating out your concept of I-ness. I exist. When you make Fana, the I in you evaporates. It's like there is no I anymore. The I starts to fade out. Instead of being I, there's only thou. And in your thou-ness, you receive certain understandings that come from God. And one of those is enlightenment. One of those is the state of unity. One of those is the state of wisdom by God, not through yourself and not through your own understandings, but as a divine descent that comes into your consciousness with divine wisdom, or what we call gnosis. Okay, so that level of gnosis, that level of descending, is also called Ma'arifa. So the 2 jewels of the Jabba level are Fana and Ma'arifa. These are the 2 jewels that come out of that level of consciousness. Okay, so you're going to be working, if you want, I mean, this is up to you, but if you want to free yourself from all of the suffering that you're in, and you want to free yourself from all the pain that you've been going through, you're in pain because you're attached. You have to understand this, your pain is your attachment. When you start to release the pain and you let go of the attachment, God will give you divine knowledge, and in time God will give you Fana, and you free yourself. Okay? When you free yourself, you now enter, you go out of the soul world, you now enter into the godly world, or the heavenly world, or what we call the secret, and now you're starting to really have true freedom. When Siddhi says, become the peace, love, mercy, justice, and freedom, that's the freedom he's talking about. Not just, he's talking about outer freedom, that he doesn't want you to be oppressed, but he's also talking about inner freedom. He wants you to be free of yourself. He wants you to be free of your attachments. He's trying to free you because somewhere inside you're attached. You're holding your attachments, and you've heard Siddhi say, break your tomb, right? You know, there's the tomb of the body, but there's also the tomb of the soul. The soul is a tomb. If you're holding on to your body is your tomb. In other words, you're like attached to this thing that's going to die. And it's you know, from a spiritual point of view, it's like crazy. But that's what we do. We attach ourselves to these bodies, and then the body dies, and we're like, oh my God, what happened? You know, but from a higher level, as you walk deeper, you've got to free yourself from attachment. That's the ultimate state. And the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, spoke about this all the time. If you read about how he traught his household, like the people of his house, he was going to continue, and the companions, Ali and Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and all the companions that were around him. You read the stories, you see that the entire time the Prophet was with them, he was teaching them to purify themselves and training them in adab. You have to read the stories. He wasn't just walking around, you know, with a bunch of companions. He was completely teaching those people all the time how to purify themselves, how to become perfect. He was perfecting them through his teachings. So you have to perfect yourself through the teachings that Siddhi's given to us today are nothing more than the teachings that Prophet Muhammad gave to the companions that got passed down, through time. We're not the only ones that have it, obviously, but these teachings are the process of purification through the names of God, purification through the lights of God, purification through the actions of God. Okay, so this is the work that I want you to learn this as you go forward. Okay, now I want to give you an example of this, and I want to show you some of this work, and I don't know if you'd be willing to let me work on you today, Sarah.
Sure.
But I was thinking about you. Right, we get a chair for her, and I want to show her as an example of what's possible through healing.